Hey everybody, welcome to episode 73 of the All JuveCast. And today, joining me on this one, I got my man from Top Bins Talk, actually. And it's Marcin. Marcin, how you doing?
Good. How are you this morning?
I'm doing great, man. Doing great. Especially happy that Juve's play seems to be picking up as of
Yeah.
late. And we're going to recap the match against Sampdoria. And real quick before we get into this, I want to start in a discussion that I was having with someone leading up to this, and it was regarding players resting because we know we have the Supercopa match coming up on the weekend, and we're actually recording the day before the Supercopa match, and he didn't want to play Higuain, Dybala, and Ronaldo, especially before the Supercopa match. But personally, I'm kind of the opinion that I want guys to have at least that match leading up to it, just for their timing to kind of be as sharp as possible. We had like Sandro that was rested, Pjanic that was rested before it, and then HDR obviously played previous to this match as well. But I'm kind of okay with that, and this guy was just essentially arguing that we should be resting all these guys. I just want to know kind of what your opinion is leading up to the Supercopa match, and if you want certain guys, especially guys we consider key guys, coming off the bench into that match, or get that match ahead of it to get their timing right.
So I'm definitely in the mindset just like you are. I think getting your mindset and getting your timing and kind of like your play together right before the match is more important.
Yeah,
If you look at it, the next UVA game after the Supercopa is on the 6th of January, so that's over 2 weeks that they're going to have in terms of time off to rejuvenate, kind of get their energy levels back up and kind of have some time off. So you have plenty of time after that game to relax and to kind of rest and just get yourself ready for the second half of the season. But before it's the Super Cup, it's also a Serie A game. Like we're tied with Inter going up into that game, so you want the 3 points. So I don't think resting anybody before this kind of game was the best idea. Like you want to carry that momentum into the cup, and which is gonna hopefully if we win, that's gonna end the year on a high note. You want all those players to be kind of like firing all cylinders before that game, just to end the year on a high, to end it with a trophy, and to kind of carry that momentum over into 2020.
yeah, yeah. I agree. And we'll kind of talk about one guy that kind of stood out to me, which kind of reiterates the reason that they should be doing that. But the lineup comes out, and I liked it. Buffon, with this start, ties Maldini's record, 647th appearance, passes Del Piero's Juve appearance mark of 478. Huge, congrats Gigi. And then the rest of the lineup: Sandro, Bonucci, Demiral, Danilo, in the middle, Matuidi, Pjanic, and Rabiot, and then of course Dybala, Higuain, Ronaldo up top. I was perfectly fine with this lineup. Any thoughts you had on the lineup going into it?
Yeah, I thought the lineup was fine. I didn't have any issues with it. Obviously, Tech was injured, so that's why Buffon played. Demiral, after his great start from the previous match, I felt like he deserved another start. Obviously, we're going to see probably most likely Dilic back in the lineup for tomorrow's game.
Yeah,
In the midfield, Bentancur was the only, obviously, omission because he was suspended. So the midfield three of Pjanic, Matuidi, Rabiot was fine. I thought they did a really solid job. And then obviously up top, like you can't go wrong with that with that trio because that's the one we want
yeah,
playing
exactly.
every
Like
game.
that's pretty much turned into the 1A without question. And I just keep talking about how funny it was that Sarri just kept saying, you can't do that, you can't do that. But every time we do it, it's great. But yeah, let's get in this match. 2 minutes in, and like Demiral, right in the thick of things immediately. Actually, a pretty bad giveaway on his part, but track back, and then that Sam player is just looking for the call there. I
Yep.
didn't think there's much in that, but Demiral's got to be a little easier there, not to cough that one up like that. We get a quarter of an hour into this one. We're totally controlling the play, but still not much to show for it as far as chances, whatnot. But the ball movement was continuing on from the matches leading up to this, where it was just much better. We did seem to be looking for crosses a lot, though. especially from Sandro's side in this one. So I wanted to start seeing them kind of try work to feet a little more. 17th minute, Samp actually gets a good opportunity on a header. Ramirez seems to find some space between Demirel and Bonucci, puts it wide. But then, like, immediately after, Juve strikes first. Just an incredible finish from Dybala. The ball ended up cycling from Bonucci over to Sandro on one flank, ends up going back to Bonucci, to Demirel, over to Danilo, then Dybala on the opposite flank. He then finds Pjanic, who lays it off for Rabiot, plays it all the way back to the original flank where Sandro is there. And Dybala just finds this little pocket of space at the top corner of the area. And Sandro, like, on a platter from that distance, like, crazy. But still incredibly ambitious for Dybala to volley that. And he got it completely right. Unreal hit for 1-0. Just a sick goal, eh?
Yeah, I was literally jumping for joy as soon as I saw that, just because Paulo's probably my favorite player on the club right now.
Yeah.
Just to see him kind of hit that kind of volley, it's probably one of the hardest things in football to do. Like, the ball is coming in from a very far distance from that Sandro cross, and they just hit it one time into that, like, and curl it into that far corner. Was just like absolutely incredible to watch.
Yeah, it was just a sick goal. Absolutely sick. We keep going on this one. We're about 24th minute mark, and again, just another great passing sequence. The guys involved in this one were Rabiot, Danilo, Dybala, and Higuain. Higuain's the one that ends up with a nice running lane at goal. Ends up taking a shot from the top of the box, goes far too high, but again, just the ball movement and really the movement off the ball that we get when Higuain, Dybala, and Ronaldo are on the pitch just shines through, and it creates so much space for the guys in the middle. It just helps the whole unit, really. We're at the half-hour mark. Juve's still in control, moving the ball very well, a lot of cycling. And again, we're finding these pockets deep in the area. It's just our crosses at the end there don't seem to be there, and we seem to just not be able to support that. I started noticing that in this half-hour mark when we were getting the ball deep for that cross in. It was usually just one other guy in the area. Were you noticing the same thing?
Yeah, there wasn't as many players kind of crashing the box as usually we kind of had when that was our tactic originally.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would have liked to see like maybe one or two of the guys from the midfield kind of like push up into the box, at least get into the area. So if there is like a clearance, you're at least right there to pick up the ball and cycle it back and restart possession. But yeah, that is something I picked up on.
Yeah. We'll have to see, because like, I mean, in this one, I thought, you could see early on they were going to the crosses, and I'm kind of okay with that if that's what the opponent kind of gives us. But the only thing is, we got to follow up better if that's the way we're gonna approach the game. Everybody's got to kind of buy into it. So the support needed in there to get to those didn't seem to be there. Just after that, Demirel gets himself in another scenario. I felt he should have dealt with this ball a little bit better. It looked like he could have easily beat the man to it. It looked like he was trying to kick it, but the guy was right there. He should have felt that. Felt like, the guy's presence is right there. You guys are so tight. But I felt he could have just kept running through and just take it off the chest or something and just get it out wide. But he takes his foul here. Nothing comes of the free kick as it goes out to a corner. But on the ensuing corner, ball gets cleared, Samp wins it, and then we end up regaining possession, but Dybala plays over to Sandro, and Sandro, trying to play it out in a scenario that's just overcrowded by Samp players, he ends up losing the ball. They get into our area. Sandro then challenges, but he plays the ball right into the middle of our area, and Sam puts it home for 1-1. Just a really sloppy sequence from us, and this kind of goes back, like, Sandro was like kind of funny to watch in this one, because he was like really, really awesome, and then like a couple minutes later just doing something really, really brutal where you could tell he had been rested for a few matches. And this goes back to why I kind of want guys to play before like the Supercopa, right? And what do you think on this goal that Samp ends up tying it? It's kind of like just we kind of do that on a lot of the goals that we allow. We just shoot ourselves in the foot. But
I mean, Sandro was, I think, in my opinion, a little bit unlucky to have that conceded. I mean, yeah, he kind of gets us into that sticky situation, but he tried to do like a toe poke clearance and get the ball out, and it just happened to fall right into a Sam player's feet and to kind of slot it home. So, I mean, if there wasn't a player there and he kind of clears, he kind of makes up for his mistake, but it's unfortunate that he kind of had to clear it right into an opponent's player's like feet and to kind of slot it home. Overall, I thought Sandro was pretty good defensively and offensively in that game. I thought it was just like a little moment where obviously the team's taught to kind of play out from the back, and that's what kind of Sandro was trying to do. So I feel like he was just trying to work with Sarri and what his instructions were for the team. Like, yeah, clearing it first time would have been the wiser decision, but I felt like he was just following kind of like what the team's been instructed how to play. But I thought it was just unlucky. Like he tries to make up for it by doing that little toe poke clearance in the box, and it just fell to a Sam player's feet to kind of slot it home. So I thought it was a little bit of an unfortunate goal, considering we were dominating the entire first half.
yeah, that's the thing. We were dominating. Yeah, Sandro, he had he had a few scenarios like just, and this is what I mean about getting those minutes in before Supercopa. He was playing a couple balls back to Bonucci that he shouldn't have, and one almost got stripped for a breakaway. And then like even off a throw one time, he put Bonucci like under, and it's just like little things like that, right, with the timing and everything. And that's what I kind of noticed overall. Yeah, Sandro had a pretty solid game, but again, just not as sharp as we have seen from the season, and just again taken into consideration he's been rested, right? So he ended up getting an injury. I don't think he's actually available for the Supercopa match. I'll have to look for updates and whatnot, but last I had seen he wasn't going to be available. So we'll have to see what ends up happening. DeCilio has been putting in some really good performances, in my opinion, at left back. What have you thought in the matches leading up of DeCilio on the left there?
Yeah, I think he's been a little bit better in terms of how he started off the season, and what the fan perception is that he's not really that great. But I think he's a really useful spot player to kind of get in a couple spot starts and play in place of like an injury or a suspension for Danilo or for Quadrado or for Sandro, whoever it is playing on the wing. But I think he's definitely been playing a little bit better. But like I said, he's a very useful squad player to have. He can play with both feet, so you can kind of rotate for the right or the left of the team. And getting him some consistent minutes, you've seen that he's got some skill. He can play that left back or right back role pretty solidly for us.
Yeah, he's turning into be a pretty solid guy to come in and just fill that role. It's been really, really good. Moving on with the match, 41st minute, and Ronaldo gets the ball, maybe 24, 25 yards out wide left, and he's doing his step over thing where nobody's actually moving and it seems like nothing, but then he puts this cross that's just a money cross, and unfortunately Higuain and the ball, and either one of them could get to it. The cross itself isn't far from curling into goal, really. So very unlucky we couldn't tap that one in. And then 45th minute, Sandro, the ball finds itself to that flank again, which we played a lot through, and he puts another great cross in, maybe even too high of a cross, but not for Ronaldo, as he gets way up there. I think I had enough time to go to the bathroom, come back. He was still in the friggin' air, and then heads this one home. Like, it was insane, man. I lost it. What was your reaction on that goal?
Yeah, I thought that was pretty insane. I think I read like the statistic that somebody did like the math, and he was like over 2.5 meters in the air like during that goal, which is insane considering like I said, I read the stats so that his average jump is like 2 inches tall, like higher than an average NBA player.
Yeah.
So like the guy literally can do it all. Like he's just like we've seen these goals from Ronaldo in the past, these towering headers, and like we haven't seen like a true Ronaldo towering header until I feel like until this one.
Yeah.
Like this one just like outclassed everybody. That was a world class finish from him.
Yeah, it was it was sick and much needed in this match because that pretty much ends the half. We had a very strong half when it comes to our gameplay. We just lapses, unfortunately, this season for us seem to be like we seem to be getting punished on them, right? Not the end of the world of an error from Sandro there. I mean, the easy play would have been to either clear it up or even just keep possession, which he's very good at. He tried to make a pass like through a mess of guys that he shouldn't have. Just this year it seems to be just punishing us. We just can't get that clean sheet. And not only that, when you factor in conversion rate being lower than what I feel it should be when we play this style of game, like even this one, we should have been a couple up here. I don't know. Going back to these minutes, again, Sandro's been rested. It's all good. But HDR again, Higuain, DeBall, and Ronaldo, they just make it really, really easy for that midfield. Pjanic, I thought, was just enough. He wasn't, bad coming off the rest, but he wasn't also, doing a hell of a lot, but we played a lot through the flanks. Rabiot, I thought, actually had a really good half at this point, and I was liking what I was seeing from him. He seems to be better on the right side of our midfield than when he's playing on the left side. I'm not sure why it changes so much, but he, not only that, but he was just kind of actually everywhere and always seemed to be in the right spot to be that outlet, and led a couple counters too. But your thoughts at the end of this first half and what you were feeling out of Juve and some of the guys you want to touch on?
I thought that first half was prototypical to what we kind of wanted to see for much of the season. It was a lot of passing triangles, which is what Sarri obviously wants to run a system for, and a lot of possession and some pretty solid opportunities kind of for us to score some goals, which is kind of what we wanted. We wanted a solid 45 minutes from Sarri's system, from Sarri ball, quote unquote, and that's how we wanted to kind of roll into the second half. Obviously, the second half was a different story. We'll touch on that in a little bit, but yeah, the first 45 minutes was great. I didn't really have too many issues. Yeah, we were unlucky to kind of give up that one goal. But yeah, leading 2-1 with those two great strikes from Ronaldo and DeBall was awesome to watch. I mean, we all love watching those kind of goals happen, and we don't want it to happen because it means that we're struggling to create other chances. But when they do happen, we marvel at them. Yeah. In terms of some of the plays, like you mentioned, Pjanic, I thought he was a little bit more average than usual, than his above average standards like he usually plays. His passing just wasn't as sharp and as neat and kind of pushing the ball forward as he usually does. To your point, Rabiot was awesome. I really liked Rabiot in that first half. I thought overall his game in this one was really good. Yeah. In terms of your comment, why probably he's better on the right, I'm pretty sure Rabiot is right-footed. So I feel like him switching to the natural side where he's going to play with his dominant foot would kind of help him out a little bit more and kind of give him a little bit more freedom, just because that left-hand side role that Matuidi usually plays covers a lot defensively, and I feel like Rabiot, once he's kind of not unshackled, but not having to do as much defensively work as Matuidi does, he can kind of be a little bit more creative going forward, which is why I think he kind of fits in that right-hand side role a little bit more. But yeah, overall his game was awesome. I really liked his play, and now that you're starting to see him also getting some minutes and getting some consistent game time, I feel like Rabiot's kind of slowly starting to get his feet set into the squad. Yeah. And I think moving forward, I think you're going to see him play a lot more of those minutes on that right-hand side, especially obviously with Sammy out and rotate with Benton quartered from that right-hand side.
Yeah, and we'll get to the midfield leading to the Supercopa, because Bencour's name's going to come up for sure as far as how we would line them up and whatnot. But we'll get to that when we get there. Let's go through this second half. Now, it's funny that you had mentioned we'll talk about the second half and it's a different story, whatnot, because I did overall it wasn't terrible, I thought, and we'll go through it here. We were still creating a lot. We should have definitely killed this one off. We didn't. But we got ourselves into trouble in our own half. Just playing the ball out and the tempo. It always seems to be the thing I notice is the tempo. When we play the ball out from the back and we do it slowly, I don't care, because I've seen guys pick on Bernardeschi. I've heard guys, and I've read on posts, people badmouthing Pjanic for how much he loses the ball in the middle for a guy that plays that role. I don't care who it is in there. And we got into a situation in the second half where it was Rabiot that lost, and Rabiot's having a stellar game. But when you play the ball out from the back so slowly, you're just asking for trouble, and it just allows that D to just close up the opposition, and it makes it way harder for you guys. And that's the first thing I noticed was we hit it for about 10 minutes, just come out really, really slow. First half, we still, because we had Dybala, Higuain, Ronaldo, were able to get these opportunities in attack, turning it around. But I just noticed the play from the back just slow right down. Did you kind of pick up on that?
Yeah, for the first, I'd say quarter of an hour, out of the second half, you just saw that they were a little bit more lethargic. The energy wasn't as high. Then right around that 55 to 60 minute mark, they kind of picked it up a little bit, just because they saw that the sample were kind of just coming back at them and pressing a little bit more, try to win the ball back a little bit higher. But yeah, it's been a theme that I've noticed in games. If we're up in games, we kind of just the energy level drops by 15-20%, and then that's when we can see goals, and that's when our clean sheets don't happen. So I feel like it's just a reoccurring theme of hey, we're up 2-1 or 2-0, and then all of a sudden we switch off for 10-15 minutes and get a little bit, not bogged down, but a little bit slowed down, and it's not as pressing of a matter to get more goals, which in all honesty it should be, because I feel after 3-0 you can kind of take it easy, but 2-0, even if it was that scoreline, it's 2 goals. It's not an easy lead to hold. So I feel if we kind of came out that second half with a little bit more energy and kind of got that 3-1, then you could have just kind of been a little bit more relaxed for the last portion of the game. But 2-1 is not an easy scoreline to hold.
No.
All Sam needs is one opportunity, and it's 2-2, and then we're dropping 2 points. So I feel I kind of expected a little bit more coming out of the second half, which, to your point, it's just been a recurring theme of, hey, we're up, let's just relax for 15 minutes.
Yeah, and it literally it took that long. It was roughly 55th, 60th minute by the time we kind of get it going, and then again when we did, it seemed to be the usual suspects: Dybala, Higuain, Ronaldo. Higuain being maybe a little bit behind his usual performances so far this season, but Dybala, in between 55th, 60th minute, somewhere in there, plays incredible cross. We had 2 guys, not one, but 2 guys free and clear. One of them, Cristiano Ronaldo, back post, and the other, Blaise Matuidi. Matuidi takes this thing and gets the header all wrong. That's gotta at least hit target.
Yeah, for sure.
Just crazy. So, yeah, and then it's CR7's reaction in behind. But I mean, if you're playing in the match, there's people out there, ragging on Matuidi and stuff. As a player, you're gonna take that header. There's no question. It's just, you're not gonna trust the guy behind there. Obviously, you're gonna hear the yelling and stuff, but you still don't know what's going on behind you. If there's a defender or whatever, you're looking at this cross coming in. You're free and clear. You're gonna take it. He just got it completely wrong. But yeah, he's got to take that header, right?
Yeah, and not make sure it bounces off his shoulder. Yeah, to your point, yeah, if any player in that situation, whether that was Bonucci there, whether that was Danilo there, whether that was Ronaldo or Dybala there, they all would have taken that header.
Yeah.
You're to your point, you're standing there. There's nobody around you. In terms of the yelling, sometimes opposition players will yell "Oh, I got it," to throw you off. So on the off chance that maybe he thought it was one of the Sam players trying to throw him off and make sure he didn't take the header. There's a lot of different little ways you can kind of throw off somebody when they're trying to take a cross.
Exactly. And at the end of the day, it's you free and clear, staring at this cross coming. You got to take it. He just botched it big time. And that one sucked because opportunities like that, you got to punish. But we haven't been, and we just keep struggling through these 1-goal leads. But 66th minute, minute mark, Juve still controlling, getting some chances here and there, but the pace is slow, and Samp, you could tell they're starting to play a bit better, starting to kind of try to counter us when they do get their opportunities. But they still, they were finding it hard to generate opportunities. We weren't giving up anything really threatening, I would say. But then all of a sudden, 6 or 7 minutes later, 70th minute, Samp gets actually a pretty dangerous cross. They couldn't capitalize, which was great. I think it was Caprari ended up lunging out for it, couldn't get his foot to it. But the positioning on our defense on it was actually pretty good. On this one, I just thought it was a really, really great cross. I mean, Demiral and Bonucci were really close together, and the original guy had like no room. Bonucci maybe could have gone up for it, whatnot, but I don't know. It was just a really, really good ball. Demiral and Bonucci in this one, the odd time they kind of seemed out of sync, but it was nothing major. What were your thoughts on, defensively? Because we talked about the second half being a little bit different. We kind of allowed Samp to kind of get their hopes up, I guess, and allow to push a bit. But those two, like Demiral's been putting on great performance. This one, he had a couple scenarios were a little iffy, but that's part of his package, right? You're gonna get that. He just plays with a lot of aggression, right? But overall, what do you think so far of that pairing?
I think they've been great just because Demiral put in some solid performances. Bonucci's been the most consistent defender we've had all year, so I don't really have any issues. The issues you run into is kind of like, you mentioned that Demiral plays with a lot of aggression, but it has to be kind of used, not like sparingly, but used a little bit more smartly, just because, to your point, he kind of had some like that close penalty call in the end of that first half. He had a couple fouls where he was kind of like going through them, already, like he had his mindset. He was like, I'm going to go through this guy right now. And sometimes like a calmer head, like for example, I don't think De Ligt would have done those kind of things. Like he's a little bit more composed on the ball. Mm-hmm. And like kind of trying to pick up tackles, which is why I really like the De Ligt-Bonucci partnership. Obviously, Demiral's 21. He hasn't had his feet wet like at Juve yet. Like he's obviously trying to get minutes in game time and show himself and kind of be like the new guy in the block, if you want to call it. But he definitely needs to get a little bit more composed in terms of like going into tackles, because we all love like that, the fact that he's a very physical defender, which is great. But you have to kind of use that in moderation. You can't just go into every single tackle thinking that, I'm going to go through this guy, just because you're going to give up fouls, you're going to give up penalties, and you're going to give up dangerous situations for the team to concede. So I feel like him getting some minutes in kind of like these, not smaller games, but these kind of games that we should be kind of rolling up, like moving through our opponents with ease, is a great idea. Yeah. But I think the starting partnership should still be Bonucci, De Ligt moving forward, just because obviously De Ligt's the kind of like the prize prospect that we kind of got over the summer, and he should be starting. But I just like that partnership because De Ligt's a little bit more composed on the ball, and he's not as rash going into tackles. Already at 19, which is a great quality to have already when you're that young as a defender.
Oh yeah, for sure. And Demiral, he's that style. He's completely different than the other guys, which is great. He's almost like Paulo Montero, like reborn, really, for Juve. He reminds me so much of him, but that's what you got with him too. He played a very, very aggressive game, and guys hated to play against him, but you knew you were in for it. But the same thing, he had those moments, and if Demiral could somehow because he has, in the games leading up to this, he's actually played that same way, because I don't think he could play any other way, but he was very, very smart about it.
Exactly.
Due to the position. So that's just something that I think is going to come with time. If he puts it together, I mean, I think he's great already, even factoring in the risk factor. But if he can like really, really minimize that risk factor, this guy's going to be incredible, and it's nice to see Juve starting to shut down those rumors about him and all the transfers. That seems to be a pretty hot commodity, and a lot of transfer talk from a lot of different clubs actually looking for him. But that's a really, really solid pickup, it looks like, for Juve. 69th minute, Ramsey comes in for Higuain. Your thoughts on Higuain's performance in this one, about his 70 minutes in this match?
I thought if there was anybody that was going to get taken off or in that second half of the game, it was going to be Higuain. He kind of wasn't at his usual level.
Yeah.
The only opportunity that I saw him have was that one shot that he kind of like hit a little bit over the net by a couple meters. So that was really the only opportunity I saw him getting offensively. I mean, he tried to do his usual thing, trying to track back, do some link up play, doing the hold up play thing, which was great. But the end product just kind of wasn't there. Like him trying to get attached onto crosses and making those smart runs for those balls that Sandro was kind of throwing in there. So yeah, a little bit of a notch below what his usual stuff is of him like trying to get some opportunities for himself. But overall, like the game was solid. Like he still did the dirty work. He did the link up play. He did the hold up play. Kind of dropping into the midfield and kind of doing that usual thing that I love when he does. But yeah, just the end product wasn't there. So overall, he had like a 6.5 kind of game for me if you wanted to like rate him. But like yeah, he was definitely the after you watched like the first hour of the game, you knew that if there was anybody out of the front three that was coming off, it was going to be Higuain. He just wasn't at the same like Dybala and Ronaldo would have to step above in this game.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think he had a terrible match by any means. He was a little bit off to his usual caliber this season, but at the same time, he did a lot of good off the ball that helped the others out. He's always you can always bank on him at least making the right runs when he needs to, and he was doing that. I think again, this goes back to just us kind of taking what Samp was giving us, and it kind of just seemed to have to sacrifice Higuain really for what they were allowing us to take, and we were taking it, but it was fine. Yeah, out of the three, he had to be the one, I think, for sure, but not terrible by any means. Just I think an average performance. Go with that. 75th minute mark. The guy we just finished talking about, Demiral, just goes right through Caprari on an aerial. But we kind of just touched on it. This is exactly what you get on him. But you know what? I like it because you could see he got in that guy. So he was the goal scorer, Caprari. And like Demiral just like totally like he's these kind of guys, he just totally gets in this guy's head, and I like it. If he can minimize the risk, it's great. But still, at the same time, when this guy's on the pitch, like guys have to think about that. It's on the back of their minds, and obviously, you and I both play the sport, and when you're going up against somebody like that, it's on the back of your mind, starts to take your mind off of things. Some people, depending on how emotional they are, get taken completely out of a match, and then it allows some of our other guys to kind of get a little bit more freedom, right? But yeah, he just totally like wiped Caprari out, got in his head, got in a couple others' head, maybe Gaston Ramirez, because he started reacting to fouls really intensely, and it's just, if we get this guy doing stuff like that and starting to take attention off other things, and we could kind of just move freely, let him do that kind of dirty work, I love it, man. I love it. Costa ends up coming in for Dybala at 77. Dybala's performance, if you had to rate in this one, obviously that great goal, but yeah, give me your rating on him.
If I had to give him a rating, I'd probably be like around an 8 out of 10. I thought he did a lot of good stuff off the pitch. I think him kind of playing as that role behind Ronaldo and Higuain is like a perfect spot for him, just because he's still as pretty high up the pitch, so he can get some scoring opportunities, but he's also kind of drops a little bit more, so he kind of does a little bit of both in terms of the link-up play between the rest of the midfield and the front two guys of Ronaldo and Higuain. But yeah, his goal was obviously a fantastic thing to kind of boost up his rating a little bit. But yeah, he had a couple of the great passes, and he was just kind of very integral into like the sorry ball like style of play, and kind of like moving the ball around. Like he was just on the ball. He was quick on and off it. I really liked his overall game play in that game.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with the rating and everything. Dybala just really has been steady with that all throughout the season. He's just been fantastic. After that substitution, a few minutes later, we get a little pressure from Sampdoria. Danilo ends up playing it right into the middle, causing problems for us. They end up getting an opportunity, but wasn't the best of strikes in the end. Your thoughts on Danilo and his performance and just him in general with Juve?
I think he's been a little bit generally average for pretty much most of the season. I haven't really seen too many like crazy performances out of him so far in the year. Obviously, he still hasn't really locked down that right back spot, which is like the main issue. And Juve paid technically so much money for him, so you kind of expect him to start. But you kind of see that Quad kind of has made that right back spot kind of his over the last like month and a half or so. So I mean, yeah, Juve spent so much money, and I feel like his performances have been a little bit more on the average side than anything else for the money that they spent for him.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's been a little bit, like I said, there hasn't been really any moment that I've really noticed that he's been like, oh, like this is like an awesome performance from Danilo. Like,
yeah.
It's been like he's done the work that he's supposed to, and there hasn't been anything like extra above that.
Yeah, I think like his debut match for us, he put in a solid shift.
Yep.
I can't remember exactly what minute he substituted on. He scored like a minute later, but he finished that match, did really good. And then I think, honestly, there's been one other match, and it wasn't too long ago, where I thought, hey, there's a good performance. Not like anything incredible or anything, but just a good performance. But a lot of what we have gotten has been just average or even just a little below average, I find. A lot of just silly mistakes and playing out of the back. He makes some questionable passes, and again, depending on our tempo, whatnot. Because really, after this opportunity, I talked about it earlier because it was something I noticed in the first half when we were discussing us kind of taking our foot off the throttle and slowing things down. But this is where we played really slow out of the back, and we got the turnover from Rabiot in the middle, and some people are quick to jump on Rabiot, and I asked you your opinion of his match. I thought he had a great game, but there were still people that are just like, I'm not sold on Rabiot. Look, I don't care who's in that position. Could be any of those guys. We play so slow at the back. Sam's already pressing us as it is. We're just asking for trouble. So the ball gets stripped. They get an opportunity out of it, but it's got to be a little bit better. I think this is going to come down to Sarri really having a tough time trying to get the mentality that he wants out of the club, which is to always press and be on throttle, just play with the tempo. He talked about it a lot at the start of the season. I think he's going to have a tough time doing that. I think the play is finally starting to shift to a point where we should be seeing it consistently, because we had that month of a lull where really none of Sarri's ideas were to be seen, or his style or anything. Would you agree? Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. And now, these past few games, we're starting to see his ideas and what he wants come through. But the mentality, I really don't see a big change mentally and approach-wise from this club now and last season. What do you think about that? What are your thoughts?
Sorry, you kind of broke up a little bit. What was your question?
Like the play-wise, we've seen Sarri's ideas come through the past few matches, but mentally and approach-wise, and like these lulls that we go through, it seems to give the same feeling that the mentality of the team is still the exact same as last season. And I don't know if Sarri's going to get that part of his approach through to these guys within this season. Because we seem to just fall into the same traps where we slow right down. We get very, very complacent. And I've said for a few episodes, I think that's going to be his toughest challenge. Do you see any change in mentality with this club from last season to this one so far?
I think there has to be a change in mentality, just because the team does. You can see the tactics of Sarri coming into play. You see them pressing higher more. You see the little triangle passes. Obviously, like the gameplay still happens in spurts. So I think I talked to you about this on a podcast I was on earlier with you. The gameplay happens for like 25, 35 minutes, and then they kind of go off that little tactic that they've been running for that amount of time. So you see the team play well in areas. Like for 30 minutes, yes, they've like for the first half of the Samp game, they were awesome. The second half, it wasn't really the same thing. For a good portion of it. So you see that the mentality has changed just because they're implementing Sarri's tactics. They're trying to play how he wants to play. It's just that they're, like you mentioned, they're getting into these lulls of this 15, 20-minute kind of spurt where they're not as high tempo, as high energy. And I don't know what reason that is. So, I mean, obviously, I don't think that's a mentality change that they're keeping from last year. I think it's just, I really have no idea why they're kind of coming out of the second half.
It's really, really strange, man. It's really, really strange because, I mean, you have fans that are just saying, well, look, you can't play with that pace, that tempo, that energy and whatnot. But we're not even talking about the movement being the pace. It's letting the ball do the work, right? Like we are,
exactly.
Like when we get into that trouble in this particular play with Rabiot, that ball stayed up Bonucci's feet for I don't know how long before he decides to put it to Danilo. And with each second, Sam's closing in. And it's just like, let the ball do the work. Move it quickly. He's there, like, don't hang on to it. And then Danilo holds it even longer, allowing that guy to get right up on Rabiot. And it's just like, you know, it's not even like the energy. It's just letting the ball do the work, making it harder for that opposition, making them have to run around. And we just get into these lulls, and it's just, you know, Sarri spoke to it earlier in the season a lot about just tempo, and I think that's what he meant was the ball movement tempo, because yeah, you can't run you know, flat out for 90 minutes. It's never going to happen.
Yeah, it's not possible.
To let the ball do the work, and you think back to some, you know, very, very strong teams. You can even look back to Real Madrid's dynasty there. Take the players aside, whatnot. The ball was moved very, very quickly. You start looking at some midfields of the teams that are succeeding and doing very, very well and causing even teams that cause us problems. They move the ball very, very quickly. And it's just something when we get ourselves into trouble, we stop doing. And it's part of like something that Sarri's talked about a lot of, but it's just, again, to your point, it comes through in spurts and I'm not really sure why. But I think he's going to have a tough time trying to get that set through for full matches, because we still, you know, this has been an ongoing trend right throughout last season where we'll put together a good 60 minutes, a good 45. There's been some matches we don't put together more out of 20, 30 minutes, right? But that's just a reoccurring theme. So we got to get that right, I think, coming down to a crunch part of the season. So the nice thing is, though, that month was pretty tough to watch because we know we're capable of so much more, but we're trending upwards in that again now, which is nice. And we got guys like Rabiot starting to progress and look a lot more comfortable, which is awesome. So It's good with that. 89th minute, again, just proving the point. We were playing from the back, but we played it a hell of a lot quicker. And we got Costa involved, Ramsey involved, and Costa ends up backheeling to Ramsey. And Ramsey puts a great ball over the top. Ronaldo ends up finishing it, but just offside. But again, there's a prime example of when you move the ball quick. And with the guys we have. Because even if it's our 1-8, which is Higuain, Dybala, and Ronaldo, I mean, geez, when you make your subs and you have Ramsey and Costa in there, that's pretty sweet. We just got to play to everybody's strengths and get the ball quick, because, like, for a guy to close down on Costa, you got to be playing it pretty damn slow. But when you play it fast like that, like, look how quick we just went from literally our own end to Ronaldo on, like, a 1v1 with the keeper. So it's just, we've got to start doing more of that and getting these guys in the positions where they could do the damage, right? It's funny to me. I want to get your thoughts on Costa and how we use him, because it's such a possession. Like, we just use him in possession so much, right? But and obviously we know his capabilities and stuff, but I'm just curious if we got to move away from the 4-3-1-2 while he's out there, because with Ramsey and him in there, this was kind of weird. We just kind of lost all structure, and it was just totally free flowing, right? Like, those guys were going wherever they felt like. It looked like they had complete freedom, which is fine, but using Costa in a possession style, or should we be looking to get him in the 1v1 scenarios, when we got a lot of that with Allegri, actually, because he would keep them kind of wide, right? It was after he started experimenting with them and giving them more freedom, and Costa would go flank to flank. But are we better off keeping him, trying to get him in 1v1 situations, or are you okay with the possession style that we get?
I mean, yeah, like all of Costa's strengths kind of dictate to him being a traditional winger and being better in those one-on-one situations. Like, he's probably one of the fastest players in world football in general. His agility is matched by anybody. He's so quick on the ball, and I feel like that's where he's going to do most of his damage. He's going to be out wide, doing those 1v1s, dribbling at people. Like, because there's really nobody that comes to my mind in this area that can match him for pace. Like, you get him past anybody, he will burn you, and he'll just take you on without any kind of hesitation. And we've seen him do that at Bayern for so many years, at Shakhtar and at Juve in spurts when he's been healthy. But yeah, his best area is out wide, beating players one-on-one. Like, to your point, I kind of didn't understand why we didn't switch to like more of like a 4-3-3 when Costa came out, because I was kind of expecting him to go out wide and then be kind of like that dribbler and kind of take guys on one-on-one. And he kind of was holding up the play, playing a little bit more of like a midfielder role, if you want to call it, which I kind of didn't understand why he was really really playing in that kind of position.
Yeah, and it's weird when you get, like, I get it, it's a little weird when you get Ramsey and Costa in there, because, neither one of them will be like your true up front guy, right? But you could almost switch it to like a 4-4-2 with giving Costa a little more freedom and not truly being that second striker, but more off to the side, and Ramsey can just be that fourth in the midfielder and still keep that diamond shape if we want. But yeah, I feel like we lose Costa's best attributes when we use him as a possession guy. It's just something I've always kind of wondered why we're kind of going that route. I would love to see him just get in those 1v1s and burn guys, because it's almost like a given. And actually, like, no matter how much some people want to rag on Cuadrado, he, more often than not, wins those 1v1s and gets the ball in the dangerous spots. Mm-hmm. Him and Costa do that effectively, like, all the time. So taking one of those guys away from that, like Costa, and using him as a possession, is just, it's weird to me. It's just something that doesn't quite make sense, and I've always wondered, why are we doing that? But see what ends up happening, what Sarri can do. Granted, if Costa can stay healthy. But yeah. Yeah, really, that's kind of the end of the match. In the 90th or 92nd, we get another opportunity. Ramsey with a great ball to CR7, who comes in, has a great rip, just goes wide. But kind of after that, not a whole bunch, just a lot of long balls from Samp, and we see the game through. 2-1 win. In this one, all in all, Juve pretty much still always in control. Kind of let off the throttle, we talked about in the second half, but and should have had a couple more goals. We created some really, really good chances, but and Samp's goal, really, we talked about Demiral needing to be a little bit smarter in that situation. Nothing came from the free kick, but they got the ensuing corner, and it all kind of unraveled from there. We are still trending upwards. HDR, no question. That's our 1A. It's awesome to have Ramsey, Costa coming off the bench. I think we need to play that way. That's going to be our 1A. You get the odd change here and there, but Costa, Ramsey, Bernardeschi, even, like, those are your guys coming off the bench, coming off on tired legs, and I think that's the way to go, personally. We talked about Costa. Rabiot, thought he had a fantastic game. We talked about that. Looking strong on the right side. You talked about him being right-footed. I actually think he's left-footed.
Is Rabiot left-footed?
I'm pretty sure he is. Don't hold me to that, but I think he's left-footed. But again, I think when we have HDR there, I notice a difference in Matuidi as well. When the three of them are there, it's just that extra outlet, because Bernardeschi, his touch isn't quite there. We talked about the trequartiste thing. It doesn't work with him, but these guys, when you got Higuain, Dybala, Ronaldo, I've noticed Matuidi looking a bit better too. Just again, when we slow things down, we get ourselves into trouble. But we're trending upwards. All in all, I thought this was a really good performance. Puts us back in top spot outright. We'll see what ends up happening with Merda there. And we're off to the Supercopa. And this one's going to be interesting. Supercopa match against Lazio. We'll kind of get into this and do a little preview here. It'll be interesting to see Sarri play this opponent. We know they got the better of us the last time, and it's a quick turnaround time to play this team again. Honestly, let's talk about some lineup scenarios that we have going into this one. A lot of fans talking about Higuain looking very tired in this last match against Sampdoria. Real quickly, if it were you, Marcin, do you go with Higuain, Dybala, Ronaldo in the Supercopa?
If it was me, yes. Like I said, it's the last match of the season. There's 2 weeks in between this game and the next game that we're playing in the Serie A. I believe it's on the 6th of January. So you have plenty of time to rest after this game and kind of get yourself together and get yourself re-energized. It's the last game. It's a cup final technically. So you want to end the year on a high note. You want to win the year with a trophy, and the way that you're going to do that is by playing your best players. Higuain's one of our best players, and him forming that partnership with Dybala and Ronaldo, I feel like even though he's a little bit tired, it's still going to be more beneficial to have him on the pitch than him coming off the bench or not playing at all. So yes, I still would start all three of them just because, like I said, they have over 2 weeks after this game to kind of relax and get themselves together. But we want to win this cup, and we want to get some revenge on Lazio for beating us last month. Yeah. So I feel like you start your best players.
I agree with you on that, and I go back to HDR, no question. Question I have is Demiral putting in good shifts. De Ligt rested, sitting. We know he's got a knock there. Pretty sure he's going to be available. But we go back to this little thing we were talking about. Guys sitting, you want them to get minutes, and we know he's coming off a knock. If De Ligt's available, do you play De Ligt, or do you just keep Demiral in there with Bonucci?
I would play De Ligt. The knock that he got, what I read wasn't like a serious one, so he's been kind of just resting for the last week and a half just so that there's no issues there. If he's 100%, I'd play him. If there's any doubt that he could re-injure himself or redo anything with that injury, then obviously I wouldn't play him. If he's 100% fully fit, there's no issues in terms of injury report, I play De Ligt. I feel like that partnership with him and Bonucci has been our best one on the season. So I would continue with those.
Yeah, I think, there's obviously certain scenarios that will affect decisions. And, when you talk about you want guys get some minutes before these matches and whatnot, and I would have loved to see De Ligt get a few minutes prior to this one, but there's also some guys that they're kind of above that. And I think De Ligt has shown, especially with his partner Bonucci, how quickly he's grown this season. And honestly, he's played deep into the champs with Ajax and stuff that, Demiral hasn't been into many situations. He's kind of got a little risky with Samp too. So yeah, you probably go De Ligt there if he's good to go. Now, I want to talk about the midfield coming up to the Supercopa match because this, we talk about Bentancur, who's actually put in some strong performances. He's been really, really good as late. Didn't play in against Samp, obviously. But Rabiot's trending upwards. And then Matuidi's actually looking fine when we do have HDR up top. What's your midfield against Lazio that you go with?
So the midfield that I would go with, I would still stick with Matuidi on the left, just because he does so much defensively and he's such a workhorse going up and down that pitch. So he plays there for me. I would still like to continue using Rabiot on the right hand side, just because I really liked how he played against Samp. And then, believe it or not, I kind of want to try Bentancur out in that Pjanic role for this game. I think it'd be an interesting little trial run, if you want to call it. 'Cause it's a cup final. If we lose, it's not fine, but it's not Serie A. We're not dropping points. So
Yeah.
I'd like to try out Bentancur in that role, or vice versa, swap him and Rabiot, and kind of just make it a little bit of a mini experiment and see if this would work, just to give Pjanic a little bit of not a breather, but just to test something new out. I think Bentancur in that role or Rabiot in that role, or vice versa, would
Yeah.
be a great thing to do. Like you
It's
said, Pjanic has been a little average in the last match,
yeah.
so try something different.
It's something I've talked about quite a bit as of late because I think we need to go with Bentancur in that hold, but not only just because we think he can do it. I know he can do it, but I want to see Pjanic a little bit higher up the pitch. And I've talked about getting him on one of those side midfielder roles, or sometimes even when we need to, just the top of that diamond midfield, just to see. But this Supercopa match, I wouldn't do it. Like, I'm not into experimenting in this particular match. I think there's matches we had opportunities to try that, but for me, I think Bentancur, the words that Sarri says of him, that he just speaks so highly of him, and the kid's been putting in really, really good shifts. I would definitely have Bentancur in there. I would honestly, I'd love to have him in the holding role and put Pjanic on the right with Rabiot on the left. But I don't think for the Supercopa match. And honestly, like, Rabiot's trending upwards. He gives us a lot more technically. I probably would go Rabiot, Pjanic, and then Bentancur for the midfield if it were me against Lazio. Yeah, I don't know. I'd probably go with that. Matuidi is like right on the cusp, but I kind of want to see that midfield go with Rabiot, Pjanic, and Bentancur, and just see if we can kind of go at them with that. Like, Bentancur and Rabiot are really, really good defensively. Both have good amount of speed. Bentancur is great defensively. Box to box, no problem.
Yep.
Rabiot's good defensively. We don't lose anything creatively whatsoever. I think we should kind of push with that, and if we get into a situation, hopefully Matuidi can come out and kind of close that match, right? Hopefully that's how it ends up playing out. But we'll see. We got some good options, and the nice thing is those guys are all playing well currently. So we'll see what he does in the middle. At the
Good problem to
back.
have.
Sorry, what was that?
It's a good problem to have when you have multiple
Yeah.
guys playing really well.
Exactly. Very, very good problem. At the back, we talked about Sandro may not be available, which you'll probably end up finding De Chile will go there, which I'm fine with. On the right, I think it's easy. You got to go Quadrado, right?
Yep, for sure.
Yeah, just simple. So, yeah, that's kind of like what we'd go. Lineups seem to be on the same page. We'll see what ends up happening in this match. Juve's gonna end up playing this match with some special kits. They got the Arabic names on the back with calligraphy on them and everything. They went on sale for a limited edition cost, and the €250, and everybody's kind of losing their minds. But they still sell out. They sold out like right away. I'm not too crazy on them, and I'm a collector, but the kind of that Asian version we got in the summer there, they didn't even play a match, and these ones are going to play a match in. But honestly, I don't really care if it's going to draw the funds that bring me Mbappe. So let's do it. Keep making them.
Give me Mbappe.
Yeah, so keep making those, keep selling them, everybody keep buying them. Let's get Mbappe. Let's talk real quick as we wrap up here, Marcin. What do you expect to happen with Juve in the January transfer window versus what you want out of the January window?
My kind of expectations is, like, I don't think there's going to be a huge marquee signing that's going to happen in the transfer window. It's not Juve's usual kind of move to kind of bust out and put out big money in the January window. That's obviously a more summer transfer. So I don't see any huge moves happening. We might see obviously some smaller moves kind of happen, like Mandzukic is probably going to most likely leave the club. I read that he's looking at Qatar right now, or wherever else he goes. So Mandzukic might probably go. I've heard a lot of rumors, obviously, about Emre Can and that swap deal with PSG for Paredes. So that's a possibility. But that's them swapping those two isn't a huge integral part of the squad. Can was more like a squad player this year. So it's essentially swapping a squad player for a squad player. So I don't really see any massive moves happen. What I would like to happen is we get like Mbappe and Paul Pogba. Like that would be great, but like that would be ideal dream scenario. But obviously that's not going to happen. That's outside of the realms of finance, and also in a January transfer window, no major team that's competing for trophies is going to sell their best players. So I'm not expecting any massive moves. I'm expecting something along the lines of like an Emre Can for Paredes swap, where Paredes comes in on loan, Mandzukic leaving, or maybe another player comes in on loan for like a Caceres deal like last year, where we got him in for like 6 months to kind of help out. I'm expecting those kind of moves. I'm not expecting anything massive. So
Yeah.
unfortunately.
Yeah. No, same page. We heard, the rumors of Mario Mandzukic. Apparently, he could possibly even be a done deal in like 48 hours or something. Gone to Qatar. Emre Can for Paredes there. Honestly, if Can, he spoke a lot about being unhappy and whatnot, and honestly, I think at this point you can kind of see the guys Sarri's leaning to. Doesn't seem to be into it. What are you going to do? Do you keep a guy around that's unhappy? No. And honestly, like the Paredes swap, like if you put player to player, it's almost a wash. Maybe if not leaning a little more towards Paredes for our style, to be honest. If we're going to talk about the way Sarri wants to play and whatnot, might fit a little bit better.
Paredes is more like a creative midfielder. Also, on a side note on that transfer, Paredes and Dybala are really good friends. So I feel like the camaraderie, like him coming into that squad, would be pretty instant. To kind of like he's already really like I saw on Instagram Dybala went to visit him like a couple weeks ago in Paris. So like they're really good friends already. So bringing in another like person that they're already familiar with, like would just gel into the squad a lot quicker, which is a good thing.
Yeah. And I don't, I'm kind of the same. I don't think anything crazy is going to come of it. I think what I'd like to see, because I don't know if it's possible or not, I'm pretty sure we are able to, but I'd like to bring Luca Pellegrini back and have him go in there, because I don't know. I'm not sold on Danilo. Quadrado at the right back is great. DeShio's been putting in good performance, but Luca Pellegrini's been an absolute stud. And if we can start getting Sandro a little more breaks, if we're going to burn him out down the stretch, I don't really know. And now he's got another knock, so I'm kind of getting a little worried there. And we don't know, honestly, if DeShio can keep up the kind of performances he's had these past couple matches down a crucial stretch and starting to play like Champions League knockouts in that same manner, right? Pellegrini's a young kid, but I'm not talking about him jumping into these Champions League matches. I'm just talking about him giving the rest, allowing Sandro to be there for us, right? So I don't know. It's just kind of things I'm thinking about, but we'll see. I wouldn't expect anything crazy. Juventini, it's probably going to be, just honestly getting a couple of guys that we couldn't in the summer out, and then Can, obviously, now with the situation that's developed over the year. That's probably it. Coming to the end of the decade here, Marcin, just going to ask you to share kind of some moments that stick out to you, your favorite moments, if there's goals, any players in particular that you just want to discuss as we wrap up the decade.
Sure. I mean, we kind of talked about some stuff that for this section before we jumped on. Probably one of my favorite matches that I watched, and one that really kind of sticks out and that I'll probably always remember, is that 3-0 win against Barcelona in the Champions League. That was probably one of my favorite matches to watch, because you saw like prime Dybala in that, like really good Dybala in that match. It was obviously us getting some revenge after the previous UCL experience with Barcelona. So that match is one that obviously really sticks out in my mind. The Inter-Juve match, the 3-2 with Higuain in the dying minutes, that was obviously a huge match that obviously sticks out for me over this last decade. In terms of other just moments that I've really enjoyed over the last 10 years, the first Scudetto coming back after the whole Calciopoli kind of scandal, us coming back, those seventh place finishes, you watching Milos Krasic play for Juve and all those kind of players, and then us finally winning a Scudetto again. That was obviously a huge moment for me. I think another thing we mentioned were like your favorite transfers, or like least favorite transfers from the decade. So, I mean, obviously most people would say like the Ronaldo transfer being one of their favorites. I honestly will probably put as weird as it sounds, the Higuain transfer up there. That's probably one of my favorites from this past decade, just because that was like a huge moment for us to be like, hey, we're going to spend almost $100 million to our biggest rival and take away their best player, and you can't do anything about it. That was like a huge power move for me, and I felt like the kind of like the energy for Juve kind of shifted when that happened. That like, hey, we're serious. We're going to take your best player, and there's nothing you can do about it. And that kind of like I like that attitude. Yeah. So that was probably my favorite transfers. And obviously the least favorite, you could put like Anelka in there, or like Bentner or Krasic or any of those kind of players. But those are just some off the top of my head, some really key moments that I've enjoyed over the last 10 years of Juve.
Man, what a shift when you look at that squad that we started the decade with to where we're at now. It's been incredible. We've got 8 straight Scudetti. We've had the doubles years leading up. We've made some Champions League finals. It's been a pretty solid decade. We've said goodbye to legends. We've also welcomed one back recently, only to have to go through that pain again. Buffon's great to have him back. These records, incredible. I think that first season, then when we end up taking it back, that was just an incredible season, and you can almost remember like so many critical moments in that one. It was just wild. And so unexpected too, right? I mean, you're going from 7th, you're underdogs even that whole year, and pull it off, huge, and then just never looking back. Incredible, absolutely incredible. Players to me that stand out, obviously Pirlo. Pirlo was incredible to watch joining. I mean, I didn't expect it at all. The impact. It was wild, just wild. The emergence of Pogba with us was so cool to see, especially just that entire midfield. We always talk about it. A lot of fans still talk about it. How could you not? We were spoiled at that time. I'm starting to get a little frustrated when they talk about it, comparing our midfields now, because it's like we got to move on, you know. But the time that we had with them was incredible. Another player to me that sticks out that I was a little iffy about when we brought him in, but like Carlos Tevez.
Carlos.
That was he was just unreal, and like all the heat about him getting the number 10 and whatnot, but man, was he ever insane for us. It was very, very cool, and that was one that I was kind of like, I don't know about this guy, you know, and had a little bit of stuff following his reputation and whatnot, but man, he was huge for us. So incredible goals too. You want to talk about moments too. Tevez there, Pirlo's had some moments. Del Piero as he wrapped up his career, and then obviously hoisted that one. That started it all. He had some incredible moments too, and it was so hard to say goodbye. Like, I grew up with that guy. He's my favorite, probably all time, and just crazy. Crazy decade, man. Full of a lot of moments, a lot of goals, but we'll see. I think possibly we're in for some good coming up, because we're starting to put the right pieces together, and we started looking at some numbers here with Ronaldo, and there's a really good article out now. I don't know if you've caught it yet, Marcin, about just Juve's rebranding in general. It's put out, I think it was put out by Bleacher Report, but Rav also ended up retweeting it and whatnot. But it's really, really good read about what they're doing, and we're on track to really be a huge financial player. And the Ronaldo thing, you know, we squawk when he's playing bad about the 30 mil and whatnot, but it's been paid back and then some, and we will start seeing the rewards come. I'm pretty confident, but if you guys haven't checked it out, check out that article. It's really, really good. And actually, talking about Tevez, he's got his biography, I guess, come out on Netflix too. I haven't checked it out yet, but have you seen it?
I've caught a couple episodes. I have to catch up on it. It's somebody else playing, like a little kid playing as Carlos Tevez when he was younger, to kind of show like
So
his
it's like his story there, yeah.
Yeah, so it's kind of like a story. So I caught a couple episodes. I haven't finished it yet, but it looked pretty interesting to me, like a different concept on a biography kind of piece. And Carlos obviously does like some narration, and he kind of juts in some episodes and kind of talks about what happened exactly from his words. But it's a cool new take on a biography. So I've enjoyed it so far.
That's cool. I'm looking forward to checking it out. Marcin, let's wrap up with your prediction for the Supercopa match.
So I'm going to go with a 3-2 Juve win. I think there's going to be goals in this game.
Nice.
Very offensive side, and a lot of weapons with Immobile, with Savage, with these Belgians that we're here. There's a lot of offense in that Lazio team, and I just think it's back and forth and like slow that. So I'll call 3-2 Juve win in the Supercopa.
Nice. I think we're gonna flip the script, and I'm gonna go 3-1. But I think Juve's not gonna make that mistake again, and really go at them. And I expect, like you said, they got the rest coming up after, and I expect us to go all out, and I expect us to hoist that trophy, first one of the season. But yeah, it'll be a good game to watch. I think it's 11:45 a.m. tomorrow Eastern time. Yeah, so that puts it like 8:45 in the morning my time out west. But yeah, looking forward to that one. And I'll be coming back with another episode after that one to recap it. Marcin, everybody, if you aren't, check out his pod too, Top Pins Talk. It's good stuff. And Marcin, just keep up the great work, man. Love what you're doing, and thank you so much for joining me. It's always a pleasure, man.
Yeah, appreciate it. Fourth time's the charm.
Yeah, you got her. And there'll be plenty more coming, and hopefully some trophy celebrations this season. So thanks everybody. And as always, until post Supercopa pod there, Forza Juve, fino alla fine. Ciao.